Hi everyone, it's Anya from Cooking with Plants, and today I'm making homemade herbed Italian breadsticks. So to start with, I just need to mix some instant yeast with warm water and a little bit of rice malt syrup just to get it started, and I'll let that sit for 5 minutes to activate, and then the rest of the bread mixture will be mixed in. So to begin with, we are going to be putting 3 teaspoons of the instant dried yeast, and this recipe is very forgiving, so if it's a little bit more or a little bit less, it still seems to work well, which suits me because I'm a lazy cooker. And okay, we have the 3 teaspoons of instant yeast and a teaspoon of just the organic rice malt syrup if you can get it. If not, you could use some agave or maple syrup would work as well. So I'll put that in. Yep. So the next step is going to be half a cup of warm water. Now you want it just above lukewarm, but not too hot, not boiling hot, because the yeast, it'll just kill the yeast and you want to activate it. So it's just a bit of trial and error until you get a feel for it. But if you can still comfortably touch it with your fingers, but it's above lukewarm, then it should be the right temperature, and you'll see within 5 minutes it should start to bubble and activate. If that hasn't happened, maybe try another batch and just get a feel for it, have a play around until it starts to bubble and activate. So we'll just pour that half a cup in, just give it a light stir, and then let that sit for 5 minutes. Okay, so 5 minutes has now passed, and you can see the yeast is ready. It's nice and bubbly. You'll also be able to smell that it's activated. And now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So this is, like I said, it's a very forgiving recipe, so I just do a shake method. I just scoop my flour in and shake it so it's pretty much level. I'm going to be using 2 cups of baking flour or bread flour. But you can use all-purpose flour as well. Then I'm going to be using 1 cup of wholemeal spelt flour, but if you don't have wholemeal spelt flour, you could try some quinoa flour, or just add another cup of your all-purpose flour. Next, you're going to be adding 1 tablespoon of tahini, or ground up sesame paste. If you prefer, you can put some oil, but I'm just using tahini just to get a little bit more nutrition rather than just oil for the sake of oil. Next, you want to add 3/4 cup of warm water. Next, you'll be adding any spices that you like. So today I'm going to be adding half a teaspoon of salt. I'm using a mixture of Celtic sea salt and Himalayan salt, just because I started to run out of my Himalayan salt today, and also half a teaspoon of garlic powder. So you could use onion powder, any herbs you like. Next, I'm adding 2 teaspoons of mixed Italian herbs and 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Okay, now because I'm terrible at kneading dough and a bit lazy, I'm just going to use just the end of a spoon, and I'm going to stir this mixture together until it forms a very loose dough. As you can see, this comes together very, very quickly. So just keep stirring it a little bit more. It's just a good way to not overwork the dough too. So you'll end up with nice fluffy breadsticks at the end. Okay, so just make sure there's no flour stuck underneath. And you can see it's starting to lift away from the bowl now. So that's mixed enough. And I just press it together lightly, just a couple of times, just to make sure there's no flour stuck in the bowl. Just shape it into a rough ball, and I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to cover it with a tea towel and wait for it to double in size. So depending on how warm your room is, or where you're putting it, I find it takes about an hour, but it's quite warm where I am at the moment. So just keep an eye on it, check on it after about an hour. Okay, so once your dough has risen to about double the height of what it originally was, you'll see it's nice and aerated. That's what you're looking for, that's perfect. I actually ended up leaving mine for about 4.5 hours because I went out today, but this is just so forgiving, this dough, so that's perfect. You'll also want a little container of water just to wet your hands so you can work with the dough, and a tray lined with some non-stick baking paper. So we've got all that ready to go. I'll just lightly wet my hands and just start to pull this dough off the edge of the bowl. And then we're just going to pull small pieces off, probably about 1 to 2 tablespoons worth. And then just wet your hands a little bit. And just stretch it into a long sausage shape for your breadstick. And then just lie it on your baking paper. And then keep going until you've done the whole lot. Now, in the meantime, make sure you preheat your oven to about 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And that should be nice and warm by the time you've done all your dough. So let's keep shaping these breadsticks. I just like doing them like this just to have a rustic look, but you can shape them however you want. Okay, so with the size that I've done today, it's made about 13 of these little breadsticks, and I've got enough in the bowl still for probably another 3 or 4, so I'll just cook them in another batch. And you can also top them with sesame seeds or caraway seeds, cumin seeds, some Celtic sea salt would be nice over the top. Anything like that you want to sprinkle on, do it now. And they're going to go in the oven for 6 minutes to start with, and then we'll turn them over. Okay, so our 6 minutes is up. Take them out. Looking yummy. Turn them over and then cook them for another 6 minutes. When you first put the dough on, just leave about a finger width space between each breadstick just to allow for them to expand like they have here. Otherwise they can sometimes stick together. Okay. Put these in for another 6 minutes. Okay, so the next 6 minutes is up. Just going to take them out. Okay, so they're lightly browned at the moment. So depending on how dark or crispy you like your bread, feel free to pop them in the oven for another couple of minutes, but do keep an eye on them because they do go very crusty and very dark quickly. They can turn within a minute, so just keep an eye on them. I personally like them a little bit lighter, and I like to have them straight out of the oven, nice and hot. Ooh, very hot. Give it a taste. Ooh, ooh, hot homemade rustic breadsticks. These are beautiful just to have with soup, with some dips, however you like, but my favourite way. Ooh, hot, straight out of the oven. Yum. So if you liked today's recipe for my homemade herbed Italian breadsticks, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more recipes like this, make sure that you're subscribed. And if you share with your friends, that'd be much appreciated. I'll see you next time for my next recipe.